This week on Oahu, the Honolulu City Council makes strides on an ambitious budget package proposed by Honolulu Mayor Blangiardi. In its initial form, it set aside nearly $4 billion for operations. And here today to talk more about what the bottom line looks like now after a full council vote is Budget Chair Tyler Dos Santos. Tam, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Budget, I know this is always nitty-gritty and you got to get down and look at the numbers, crunch the numbers. But overall, what's your takeaway from the budget that you passed?
You know, I think the reality is we are a big city with a big city budget, and it's $3.9 billion on the operating side, $1.3 billion on the capital side. This sounds like a lot, but what we want to make sure is it's actually going to things that matter to people. Things like patrol, things like public safety, things like our parks. You know, if all we do is spend money on things the public doesn't see, you know, people behind the scenes, the public's going to get frustrated. And so we want to make sure that this money is actually getting out there to projects around the island. One of the things that actually held up our vote last night was the Waianae Police Station. Money was about to lapse to finish that project, and I know how important it is for people on the west side. In town, you know, we added a number of funds for homeless services, you know, traffic and transportation mitigation. So I think every part of the island is going to see some kind of benefit coming out of this budget that they can see, touch, and feel.
Well, let's circle back to police since you mentioned that. Of course, the big news is that Chief Joe Logan is retiring, and there are a lot of scrutiny about the vacancies. What is being considered on that level?
Yeah, so yesterday we transferred an additional $8.5 million into the patrol activity because we're paying so much overtime for our existing officers to cover those vacancies. So I hope the next police chief's really going to step things up. But you know, my real concern with HPD is the vacancies behind the scenes. You know, we do have the officer shortage, but we also have vacancies in the office. It takes a special person to wear a badge and carry a gun and get out there. But if they're having a hard time holding on to the accountants and the secretaries and the other people behind the scenes, that's a bigger systemic problem that we're also going to have to deal with.
And on the lines of safety, we had the big crash yesterday between the bus and the pickup truck, and we had so many emergency medical personnel on scene. What is being done to bolster the security and emergency teams?
Yeah, so we a few weeks ago, we had that incident where the ambulance caught fire, ambulance got destroyed, and so one of the very last minute requests that came in from the mayor's team was, can we add another ambulance? Can we add a few more SUVs to supplement that response? Public safety is the first and foremost most important thing that the city does, and so we want to make sure that our first responders are well equipped. This is the first budget year where we have the Ocean Safety Department as a standalone department, and they got nearly $30 million to do lifeguard services from dusk to dawn, and that's really critical for making sure our kama'aina, who love getting into the ocean, as well as our visitors, are safe and know what the right thing to do is at the beach.
We have to pay for it somehow, so obviously we are seeing some price hikes, most notably of the sewer fees, 115% over the next decade. How can you explain that to residents who obviously feel the price of paradise going up all the time?
Well, if you remember 15, 20 years ago, we would have, sewer break after sewer break after sewer break. I mean, we all remember what happened with the Alawai Canal, and we cannot let that happen again. So I think we all recognize we have to do something. The question is how we pay for it. The mayor's proposal was 10 years, and the council just cut it back to 5 years. We reduced the percentage rate increase. But the thing that we did that was really critical is we changed how the calculation of your sewer rate is done. Previously, everybody paid the same base rate and a little bit on top of it per gallon of use. Now we've changed it to lower the base rate pretty dramatically, and now there's more emphasis on how much sewer you use, how much water you use. And that, I think, is going to encourage conservation. So for people saving water, people using about 5,000 gallons or less every month, their rate is actually going to go down from what it is today. And that's really important for a kupuna living alone, a small family. Their rates are going to go down. Folks who have a big lawn, folks who are washing their car twice a week, hopefully they think twice about how much water they end up using.
I know a lot of thought and a lot of discussion goes into every decision. Thank you so much, Budget Chair, for joining us today.